extremely difficult times fighting for its survival and freedom. Every day, as a result of brutal Russian attacks, numerous households are captured around the country and being at risk of cut-off of electricity, heating, and water supply. That is why it is getting even more so important to find the ways of becoming more autonomous, rational, and independent. Circularity gives a huge hand in this process, and we must explore its potential. Again, I want to thank you all for joining today and hope that the insights that you will get from this session will materialize in ambitious, innovative projects and initiatives benefiting Ukraine and its people. Let's build back together. Slava Ukraini. Thank you, Roman.
Героям слава. Dankjewel. Thank you so much, Reynard. Олександр, будь ласка, ваші вітальні слова.
Роман, доброго дня. Чути мене? Доброго дня, шановні учасники вебінару. Надзвичайно приємно, що в такий непростий час організовуються, проводяться такі події. Я хочу в першу чергу подякувати організаторам громадської організації ReThink і посольству Нідерландів в Україні за таку підтримку. Для нас це дуже важлива і актуальна тема, тому що ми вимушені визнати, що даний напрямок в Україні недостатньо розвинутий, і будь-яка допомога, в тому числі методична, практична, нам буде корисна. Ця тема є надзвичайно актуальною і для міста Києва, в першу чергу, і для країни в цілому. І я впевнений, що після нашої перемоги вона буде ще більш актуальнішою. І ми при відбудові нашої країни просто зобов'язані будемо використовувати кращі практики, в тому числі і по відновленню стічних вод. Враховуючи, що місто Київ традиційно використовує велику кількість води, яку ми забираємо з річки Дніпро, очищаємо і там використовуємо, потім скидаємо назад до річки. Ці технології для нас будуть надкорисними. Тим більше, що питання реконструкції наших очисних станцій і використання води повторно постійно до війни були на нашій повістці дня. Зараз наші комунальні господарства шукають можливість бути більш автономними і незалежними, наскільки ви знаєте, тобто Росія прицільно нищить нашу критичну інфраструктуру, наші підстанції, які безпосередньо впливають на постачання електрики до підприємств комунального сектору. І переконаний, що сьогодні ми дізнаємося багато нового, цікавого з цього вебінару. Хочу подякувати нашим колегам Марлете Кройк і Кун Маткасу за вказану презентацію, яку вони будуть робити. І бажаю всім учасникам вебінару плідної роботи і наснаги. Слава Україні!
Героям слава. Дякую, Олександре. Дуже дякую вам за підтримку і долучення. So, guys, Merle, the floor is yours. Please tell us your story. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Roman, and thank you for inviting me today. I will share my screen. We practice, so it should work. You see my screen now? Share, yes. Now you should be able to see it. So yeah, I'm really thrilled that I can present today. It also feels exciting and also strange for me with of course all the information and the news we get from Ukraine, and I find I really it is a big thing for me to see that you already think of rebuilding after the victory, as was stated so well before. So let's talk about building instead of destroying. That's why today I will speak about the future, about resource recovery in sewage, and all the things that we are studying and developing here. So to be ready for a better future that I really hope that will come super soon for you. So let's first give the picture from the Netherlands to see what my background and what the infrastructure here is, that we transport everything with sewers, 80,000 kilometers of sewers in the Netherlands, and that all transports our sewage to central wastewater treatment plants. We have quite some sewage treatment plants, 350 for 70 million persons. So that's always the question, is it actually centralized sewage treatment or decentralized? Even though the sewage treatment plants are not so connected. So every sewage treatment plant is actually treating the wastewater of a certain area, and therefore it is also vulnerable, because if one treatment plant is not working well, then we immediately have the pollution on the surface waters. So this is something that we're thinking about. How can we change it? I will come back to that in the presentation a little bit. The centralized, decentralized, being more flexible in the sanitation and sewage treatment plant. But moreover, it is this 5.3 million cubic meters per day that we are treating is a great resource for recovery and for becoming more circular, to increase circularity. So to bring you, go back in history a little bit, there's a focus in the change of sewage treatment over the years. So in the last century, halfway the last century, we focused on COD removal because we understood that we have smelling ditches and canals and lacking of oxygen, hardly any fish who would swim there. So something needed to be changed. And then wastewater treatment started with just the removal of the organics and all the oxygen, components that are, is taking up the oxygen if it is released to the surface water. And then in the 90s, the focus shifted to NMP removal to prevent eutrophication and all these algae growth in our canals and rivers. And then at the end of the 80s, underground wastewater treatment became popular. Everything should be underground of infrastructure, so we couldn't see it and we couldn't smell it and we could pretend it's not there. But I'm super happy that that is changing, because if we don't see sanitation and wastewater treatment, also we forget about it and the attention is going. So and underground building is super expensive, by the way, so also therefore it was maybe not the best option. So therefore the focus shifted to compact wastewater treatment. I will come back to this compact wastewater treatment that you see in the picture in a minute. From the 2012, circularity, the attention to circularity in wastewater treatment started. So then the focus shifted more to resources recovery. And at this moment, also priority pollutants like micro pollutants, heavy metals, microplastics. How can we really get super clean water? So we can also start reusing the water that flows out, this 5.3 million cubic meter per day that flows out of our treatment plants. So this lack of space that I was just talking about, this underground wastewater treatment plant did not lead to change itself. So even the land prices are super expensive in the western region of the Netherlands. And compact technologies, were there to apply, like membrane bioreactors, and later the compact wastewater treatment plant, aerobic granular sludge or NEREDA. They were built, but not with great enthusiasm. Actually, the enthusiasm for change came when we either get other legislation, so that we are that the legislation gets stricter, so effluent quality needs to be better, or when we realize that there's a lot of cool materials in wastewater and in sludge that we can get out. So there was an internal motivation from the water authorities to change. And that was following trends. Cost effectiveness is one, urge to innovate. So all these kind of things led to the research and the attention that we had for resource recovery. So the trend is now going from a linear to a circular system. And the big question is how to get there. So because here we have the ladder of going towards circularity. So we have a lot of R words, but actually recover, I could not find it. And I have to admit that I took this more from the construction field than from the wastewater treatment field. But we rethink, which is high. We rethink our wastewater treatment plant. What is the best, the most sustainable way now? Also, we would like to reduce the materials that we use for building our wastewater treatment plant. So if you go to compact building, there's less construction material needed. So there are different things of this and reuse. I will come back to that. If we build more flexible, we might be able to reuse elements at other places when at other places the treatment is more needed. So first to dive a little bit in the compact treatment, and then my own hobby already for 20 years, it was my PhD and postdoc research, and I'm still working on it, is the compact treatment of wastewater with aerobic granular sludge. And I abbreviated it here to AGS. Usually we treat wastewater biologically with bacteria, and bacteria tend to grow in very open flock structures, and they settle very slowly. And that's why wastewater treatment plant needs such a big space, because all these big final clarifiers to separate the clean effluent and the sludge, they take a lot of space. And we thought that can be different. So then we were able in the lab and later in full scale to grow this bacteria in granules. And then you can compare it between snow and hail. It's both frozen water, but hail really hurts when it touches you, and snow gently goes towards the earth. Well, that's a little bit the same with these different biomasses. But these granules are pretty unique. They have a layered structure. So where in normal treatment plants, as is indicated here, you have different tanks for the different biological processes. In aerobic granular sludge, it can be all done in this one granule. And therefore, the design can be super compact. You can have low investment costs, low energy use, because you don't need big recycle flows in the treatment plant. And all the biological processes happen in one tank. So it's pretty unique, and it's also already applied all around the world, this technology. The 101st system was contracted a couple of days ago, so it is really picking up. And this is why here you see a conventional wastewater treatment plant with these big clarifiers. Here they're 48 meters in diameter. And you see these 8 clarifiers are just to separate the biomass from the water, from the clean effluent. And here you see such an aerobic granular sludge system with the size, because it's in perspective, this is just 41 meter. And this plant is treating the same amount of water as this big plant is doing. This is in the north of the Netherlands. Well, this illustrates why it also from a sustainable way of thinking, except that it uses less energy, this treatment, and it really can go to very good effluent quality. Also, the construction costs are cheaper and the building material is less. So that's a big advantage. And then there's even another advantage, is that you could also build it flexible. And this is an example of the vertigo system that was used in the south of the Netherlands for these same tanks. And all these tanks are built from different materials. So there's a wooden tank, a steel tank, a concrete tank, and all these different tanks can be taken apart again and built somewhere else if the treatment shoots, if one place where you first start building it and people move away to another location, you can take the treatment plant with you. It can also be built fast because it's compartmentalized. So that is it is a very nice concept, I think. And then we speak about resource recovery. And there's a super cool resource in aerobic granular sludge, and that is called Caumera. And Caumera is actually the EPS that binds the bacteria together. In these granules, you can extract that, and this Caumera, these extracellular polymeric substances, sorry to be a bit technical, it is a kind of slimy material, and by treating it differently or mixing it with clay, you can tweak the characteristics a little bit, and then it can either repel or absorb water. If you mix it with clay, it can be used as a flame retardant, and then a very thin layer can really hold back temperature from 1,000 degrees. So 1,000 degrees on the other side, and you have a thin film, and it is its normal temperature on the other side. So it is really an amazing material that didn't exist before, or at least was not discovered. It can be used as a binding agent or water repellent in textile or packaging industry. Because it absorbs water, it can be used as a biostimulant or a fertilizer coating in agriculture. So we discovered that the roots grow faster when you add Caumera to the substrate of or to the soil. But it can also be used as a curing agent for concrete. So if you make new concrete constructions, and usually you need to cover it with plastic to get the concrete cured, that you don't get these micro cracks. Instead of using all these big sheets of plastic, you can also spray this material that is extracted from the waste product, from these granules. And then also the concrete dries out or cures slower, and therefore is more strong because you don't have these micro cracks. That has also been tried out in practice already in one of the parking garages here in Delft. We have already in the Netherlands 2 full-scale extraction facilities in operation at 2 locations, and now it is to see where we can bring all this Caumera gum, as we call it, where we can apply it, but the possibilities are really many. You can look more about this material on the website, and there's also a very nice movie of what you can do with it. Well, other centralized resource recovery that we can think of is, I listed here. So from the, I'm not sure if you will be able to see my cursor, but here in the biological process, we could recover bioplastics, stimulate the growth of microorganisms that can accumulate bioplastics. In a pre-treatment, we can recover cellulose, which is coming from toilet paper that has been used, volatile fatty acids that can be used to stimulate the nutrient removal at the treatment plant or be used in industry. Of course, the water is a big thing that we can recover from wastewater. And then from the sludge, there's a whole list of different materials that we can extract. So that is that we can either use ecology to recover all these materials. So this is an example from Aquafarm. They use the effluent of wastewater treatment plants to grow higher organisms. So here they have, sorry for the Dutch in the slide, but I will explain it. So in the first regions, they have filter feeders like algae and Daphnia, who can filter the last suspended solids out of the water, and these can be used, for example, in fish feed or produce biofuel of it. Then the water can go to an area where there's plants grow to take out the final nutrients of the water. And these plants can be used as a compost if you compost these plants, or to extract proteins from or cellulose. After that, mussels can still grow on the water. So mussels can also be a source for proteins, and you can even make pearls in the mussels. And then in the end, you can even let fish grow in the final stage of this ecological treatment. And it can be either for food if people want to eat it, but also just aesthetically. Well, so you could either use ecology or you can use technology. And this is an example from Water Factory Delft that uses a lot of separation technologies from sewage, so via screening, via a grid and sand removal, a fine screen, electrocoagulation, dissolved air flotation, nanofilters, ion exchange, in the end to very clean water. And then there's no biology involved in this system, and at every location you can extract resources. So from extracting the sand in the sand and grid separation, to the cellulose in the fine screen where you can make all kind of products out of, but you could also in a nano filter, you remove the medicine. I'm not sure if you can reuse them, but at least in the end, in the water is very pure that could come out of such a system, and you could reuse that. Well, the focus of our water authorities currently is on phosphate that can be struvite. So phosphate together with magnesium and ammonium that you can use in the fertilizing industry straight away, or vivianite, which is a new thing. And the nice from vivianite is that magnetically you can remove it and recover it, and that is an iron phosphate. Well, cellulose, I already mentioned, bioplastics, energy coming out of the sludge digestion, this Calmera, CO2 and water. The nice thing of this is that you don't need a lot of adjustments to normal activated sludge system that we all know about, but you can just add additional installations to recover these materials and become more circular. The only thing you have to keep in mind is sometimes you need collaboration in the vicinity, like CO2. There's a lot of CO2 coming out of a sewage treatment plant, especially if you use the biogas in a combined heat and power system. Here in the Netherlands, we have a treatment that does that, but next to that is a greenhouse area. So they can immediately bring the CO2 to the greenhouse area and therefore stimulate the plant growth over there. So it's always nice to look into this different change in or industrial change in these systems. Yeah, why resource recovery? Actually, because we can. You could either make money out of it, or like in the Calmera, you can sell it to industry, but also to become more sustainable, of course, and more circular and more autarkic in the end. Another good thing is that with this resource recovery, you can work in the change of the different, together with the different people around you. So at all places, you can prevent spending too much money. And another thing that I think is leading in the choice of resource recovery is also that it can help you preventing to do a lot of maintenance. So this is struvite recovery to recover the phosphate from wastewater. Now, if you don't do it, it leads to a lot of precipitation of this phosphorus in your equipment itself and in your pipelines. If you recover it, then it cannot precipitate anymore on the unwanted devices, but you can, and then you can also use it as a fertilizer. So that's a win-win. Well, the fifth why resource recovery in the Netherlands, it is because of the sludge incinerators are end of lifetime, and we need new technologies for sludge treatment. So therefore, that is a stimulus to look in what should we then do with our sludge? Because if you do biological treatment, you always have this sludge. So this, this is a good moment to rethink that. Well, we would like to have higher digestion efficiency, so to generate more biogas, also to produce the gas ourselves and become more independent. The total sludge degradation, you could also go to total sludge degradation, so that would mean pyrolysis or torrefaction. And the good thing there is that you generate a biochar or a hydrochar that you can use as a soil enhancer again, plus that you create with pyrolysis, you create a syngas that you can use in industry again to make components in the chemical industry from. The resources from the sludge, I already mentioned the biochar, but you could also look at the recovery of precious metals, maybe not in sewage treatments, but if we decentralize, treat certain wastewater flows, that could be an option, nitrogen and phosphorus, biogas, etc. And in sludge treatment plants, there's always sludge production. And if it's biological sludge or chemical sludge, that depends on the treatment that we choose in the future. Well, one special resource gets a lot of attention. It was already mentioned before, and that is the water. And water reuse is very possible in wastewater treatment because in Namibia, for example, it's already common practice for over 20 years. So it is really, that we are discussing it so much, it's technically not necessary. But there are quite some challenges if you go from sewage to tap. And these challenges is technology, still the robustness and cost, but mainly monitoring. So how can we guarantee the quality that you want to flowing out of the tap? Don't people get ill from it? Well, of course, impact on the water system, acceptation and behavior, and also collaboration, because the people, the wastewater treatment plant owners have to collaborate with the drinking water suppliers, and that is also an institutional choice that you have to make. Well, I spoke now about the centralized treatment, but there's also decentralized treatment for easy resource recovery, and sometimes decentralized treatment also solves the problem of a small area or a small community. I put some examples. I really like the example of PharmaFilter, a Dutch company that treats especially hospital wastewater, because there's a lot of medicines in hospital wastewater, and if you treat it separately, then you prevent all these materials to go to the environment. And in the meantime, they also solve a waste problem, because they just put all the organic material, etc., also through this PharmaFilter, and produce biogas out of it. Well, there are also other industrial treatment plants and treatment plants that you can downscale for communities. An example is here, where there is a treatment plant for 1,500 people with anaerobic treatment, so to remove the nitrogen and phosphorus recovery, and biogas is produced here. And this decentralized anaerobic treatment can be done here, because also the sewer system is only transporting the black water to the system, so the sewage and the kitchen water, and the gray water, like shower and laundry water, is treated separately, and rainwater is uncoupled fully. And there is another example from one of the Dutch ministries, where there's an anaerobic treatment of all the toilet water of the building and phosphorus recovery for 6,000 employees. So if you downscale to decentralized treatment, you can do a lot more with anaerobic technology, so technology without the use of oxygen, which is more energy friendly. The advantages of decentralized treatment of sewage is that you can treat it closer to the people. So if sewers are a problem or there is no sewer system, then decentralized treatment could be a good option. You could also use it to beautify the city, so to let grow a lot of flowers and plants if you treat the water. An example is given here. You can have separation at source more easily, so have your rainwater, your sewage, your hospital water, your industry water treated more separately, and with that also in a more sustainable and more efficient way. And you can reuse your resources directly because you're closer to the place where you could use those resources, like with water. But there's, of course, always an economy of scale. So a lot of these small treatment plants might become more expensive if you go to high technology treatment. And especially the monitoring is more difficult because, then you have to monitor a lot of plants instead of one big plant. And of course, all these small treatment plants also need attention to function well. So that might also be a difficulty. Well, then I would like to end with an example of that we have on decentralized flexible treatment and recovery in New Delhi in India, where there's no or hardly any infrastructure on sewer systems, and all the sewage goes with open drains to the rivers. And there we are developing a treatment that is based on recovery. So try to first have an anaerobic treatment where we can produce sludge and biogas. And the biogas can go to a solid oxide fuel cell to make with high efficiency the electricity. Then a phyto-urban filter, so kind of wetland in a more compact way to grow flowers to beautify the city, or to use the water from the anaerobic treatment in photobioreactors to make microalgae that can be used as a fertilizer. And then the water that flows out can be upgraded to different types of usable waters, so irrigation, industrial, or potable water. What we try to do here is to make a kind of toolbox of different technologies that you could couple to come to the water quality that you need at a certain area. So in that way, make it also more flexible. So to summarize, actually, many different options are there to add resource recovery to wastewater treatment. So to existing conventional wastewater treatment. But also, for new wastewater treatment plants, there's even a broader range of technologies that you could apply. The technology is available to couple wastewater treatment and drinking water production. But the willingness here is the big issue. Are people willing to drink that water? Are people willing to use the water? Then this physical chemical treatment is being developed, but still quite costly, but that might change in the future. Biological treatment is efficient, but produces a waste sludge. On the other hand, the waste sludge is a treasure for recovery. And flexible building could be added as a sustainable option because of the building material and the reuse possibilities. So that was actually, those are my take-home messages. I hope it inspires you a little bit to think about the future and to think what is all possible with wastewater, like the most dirtiest thing that we produce, as it's often perceived. Thanks for the attention.
Indeed. Yes, thank you very much, Merle, for this amazing story. It is inspiring also for big cities, but also for small communities who are willing to perhaps build decentralized autonomous settlements after we experienced so much attack on our centralized energy system lately. So two things happened while you were speaking. First of all, electricity was cut off at our office. So we switched to a petrol generator, which is, is not that circular, not that sustainable, but this is a survival kit
Yes.
in Ukraine right now. And also there is a air alarm that some rockets might come, but they are not coming yet. So we are continuing. And for those people who decide to go to the basements, I perfectly understand that. And anyway, you will receive a recording of this webinar afterwards. We will have a Q&A certainly, but in the end of the Koen's presentation. So let's keep your questions. You can actually write them into the Q&A if you like, and I will put most of them in the end, I guess. So I would like to move to Koen Matthijs from Waternet. Please tell us what exactly Waternet specifically is doing as a company.
Thank you so much, Roman. I will share my screen with you so that you have some slides with what I'm saying. Thanks, first of all, for inviting me. My name is Koen Matthijs, and I'm very honored to be here today with you. As Merle was already saying, it's very strange for us to be far away, knowing that you're in a war, to speak to you, because we're all feeling along about this tragic war. One of my personal small contributions to stopping this war is to put the central heating system of my house a couple of degrees Celsius lower. So that I wear an extra jacket so that I can still be comfortable.
Thank you so much. Koen, I would like to immediately ask you, because this is an eye-opening experience for many Ukrainians normally, not for me, but what is the temperature inside your house in winter?
At the moment, I put the heating system on 17. Normally, we would have it on 20 or, yeah.
Okay,
19.
so it's 17. It's just for those Ukrainians who think that 17 is cold. This is the sacrifice that Dutch people are doing for our victory. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, it's just the smallest sacrifice. I mean, yeah, that's all we can do. But I'm very happy to at least have the feeling that I can contribute a little bit on a personal level. But Merle, thank you so much for your great overview. I am working for the Amsterdam Public Water Organization called Waternet. Waternet is responsible for the city of Amsterdam to produce and distribute drinking water, to collect and treat wastewater, and also to safeguard our low-lying land. So we're there to protect the land from inundation and to manage the surface water. In this second slide, it gives an overview for whom we do these services. We have the municipality of Amsterdam, which is responsible for the drinking water, but also for the sewer system. So they are one of our boards. And the other board is the Regional Water Authority of Amstel, Gooi and Vecht. And they are responsible for the dikes and the water safety and also for the wastewater treatment. And Waternet is a association with 2,000 employees, making sure that all these aspects of the water cycle are functioning on a daily basis. So we're a public water organization. That is important to remember. Sustainability and circularity is very important to us. As you can see on the right side of this slide, there's many ambitions on global level, on the European Union level. The Dutch government has expressed their ambition to become circular in 2050. And also our two boards, the Municipality of Amsterdam and the Regional Water Authority Amstel, Gooi and Vecht, have high ambitions on circularity and sustainability. Of course, there is also a huge need to be more sustainable and to become circular as climate change is striking heavily the past 10, 20 years. Resources are drying up, especially when it comes to the water availability, clean water availability. And it would surprise you that also in our Delta country, where you would think water is plentiful, also over the past 5 years, especially in summer times, we have had 3 very dry summers in which fresh water was really becoming short. We were falling short of fresh water, and this really triggered again the need to make a change to a more sustainable and a more circular economy. And it's a shared sustainability that we all have to contribute to. And I'm happy to see that over the past 5-10 years, sustainability, circularity all over the world is becoming a major topic. And also in the Netherlands, the private sector is now really investing and realizing that we cannot continue using the resources as we have been doing over the past 100 and 200 years, and that we need to make a change. So evolving from the global and European and Dutch and Amsterdam ambitions to become more sustainable and circular, Waternet has developed its own circular program. And we have developed 3 levels of scale. Basically, the first horizon is saying everything we do in our daily business to operate all our drinking water treatment plants, our sewer systems, our wastewater treatment plants, we will make that circular. So we need energy to pump our water to the sea, for example. We make sure this is green energy. So we are building solar system, photovoltaic systems. We are building windmills to generate green electricity. In all our materials that we use to build wastewater treatment plants, to build sewer systems, we try to be more and more sustainable and using circular materials. So where we would use concrete before, we try to see if there is biocomposites, wood that can be used to replace as much as possible concrete and steel, as these materials have a high impact on the environment. The second horizon is to make the water cycle circular. And the water cycle is very much how we are in contact with other organizations and other elements outside our organization, but that do touch on the water cycle. I will give some examples of that later on. And the third horizon is to make the region circular. So how can we, as a public water organization, how can we contribute to other organizations around us and to help them to become more circular? So it doesn't involve directly water or the water cycle, but we are linked to that. And how can we support them to become more circular? Again, a short picture of what Waternet is doing. If you see under number A, the wastewater treatment, B is the drinking water production and distribution, C is the water system, so the dikes, water quality, water quantity management of the canals and the rivers. And number D is the organization and internal processes of our buildings, of our trucks and cars. So those are 4 elements that we work on when making Waternet more sustainable and more circular. The initial ambition of our two boards, the Regional Water Authority Amstel-Gooi and Vecht and the Municipality of Amsterdam, were formulated as becoming 100% circular, to not have any waste and reuse all the waste that we generate, or all the products that we generate. As we were developing our strategy and our program on the circular economy, we have been reflecting, and we thought, okay, recycling is important, but in the process of recycling, you might also harm the environment by using a lot of energy to reuse steel, for example, or reuse concrete. You need a lot of energy to recycle that. So while analyzing this goal, this ambition to be 100% circular, we transformed the goal into reducing environmental impact. We think that we are fully sustainable when our impact on the environment is zero. So in the elaboration of our strategy, we have decided to say, in 2050, Waternet wants to have an environmental impact of zero. And that means for everything we build, all the treatment plants we build, all the sewer systems or pipelines that we put into the ground, but also to operate and maintain this system. So all the fuels, all the chemicals that are needed to operate our systems and our plants, all this together should have an environmental impact of zero. So that is what we are working on. And then we started calculating, and we started to analyze all our activities, all our systems, to see which, throughout that process, where were our biggest environmental impacts. And it's very interesting to see that, for example, on the first two the first two lines on the left is chemicals and building materials. These are causing a high impact, environmental impact of our activities. But there are aspects that are even more severe on the environment, and that is the total nitrogen emission, the total phosphorus emission, and also the COD emissions. And those three, together with greenhouse gas emissions, are all, or the majority of that is produced in our wastewater treatment plants. So if you look at all the activities that Waternet is responsible for, our 11 wastewater treatment plants in the Greater Amsterdam area, those are the 11 plants that we really need to work on to reduce our environmental impact. It is important to note, though, you would think, okay, then these wastewater treatment plants are our biggest problem, let's say. And that is indeed the case. If we want to further reduce our environmental impact, we have to tackle those wastewater treatment plants. But at the same time, the wastewater treatment plants that we are managing and operating are already reducing by 90%, more or less, the bad impact of the waste produced by all the humans in our concession area. And just to give you an idea, the number of inhabitants in the Greater Amsterdam area is 1.2 million people. So that is the equivalent of persons that we are treating the wastewater for. Another graph of more or less the same story that I just told. If you look at the upper red line, which is the wastewater treatment effluent, that is the biggest polluter of Waternet. Also steel, sodium hydroxide, concrete, and cast iron are heavy polluters of the environment. Yeah, just to conclude on that first horizon, our internal processes. So we are going to work on for the coming years to reduce the phosphate, the N and the P in the effluent, and also to further reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. Now, if we look to horizon number 2, the water cycle circular, then we get back into the topic that Merle has been explaining about. How can we regain materials from our wastewater? And I just want to give a small insight in our biggest wastewater treatment plant. This is the wastewater treatment plant in Amsterdam West. I was just mentioning 1.2 million people living in the greater Amsterdam area. 800,000 of these people divert their wastewater into this wastewater treatment plant, treating 800,000 equivalent. It's a activated sludge system. I think I'm not a wastewater treatment expert, but I think that's a very generally accepted wastewater treatment methodology. It looks like this. And here is the process chart. I have been finding the English terms. It has a primary settling tank and an aeration tank and a secondary settling tank, after which the effluent is disposed into the surface water. But at the same time, in this parallel process, we are producing biogas out of the sludge, and also struvite is being gained from the sludge. It was already mentioned by Merle that this is one of the products that can be gained from wastewater. Some other products that can be recovered from wastewater is the cellulose and the calcite, which is recovered from drinking water, and also thermal energy can be gained and recovered from effluent. And it is interesting what Merle was just explaining about the reasons for recovering, because for Waternet, regaining phosphorus, struvite from the wastewater was not there was not a clear business case for this. We had to the pipes of the wastewater system were clogged by phosphorus. There was precipitation of phosphorus into the pipes, and this was causing a lot of technical problems and a lot of maintenance cost. So that was the reason that we had to rethink how we could gain phosphorus and recover phosphorus from the system so that it would not clog our pipes. That was actually the reason that we started to recover phosphorus from our wastewater treatment plants. I think the only product that does have a business case is biomethane. From the biodigesters, biomethane is one, and it's delivered back into the gas system of Amsterdam. And Waternet is paid a commercial gas price for that. And I think that is the one and only resource that is now having a positive business case. So, yeah, then another source to recover is water. It was already mentioned by Merle, and this is becoming more and more important. Waternet is now working on effluent as a source for industry water. I was already mentioning the 5 past years. 3 extreme summers were recorded, causing freshwater shortages. And at national level, we are rethinking how to make our freshwater resources better available for drinking water production. At this moment, you can see on the right side an image of the harbor of Amsterdam. The industry in the harbor of Amsterdam is using bulk water that is also used to produce drinking water. We have decided as Waternet that we want to shift from bulk water to effluent water. Our wastewater treatment plant that I was just explaining about is in the middle of this harbor area. It is producing an abundance of effluent, which is now diverted into the surface water and later on into the sea. It's a precious source of fresh water, and we are discussing with the Port of Amsterdam, with the industries, also with the municipality of Amsterdam, how we can use this effluent and use it as a source for an industry water, so that the bulk water can be spared to produce drinking water. The third horizon that I was explaining about is to facilitate the region in becoming more sustainable and more circular. And one of the interesting examples is the textile industry. The hospitals in Amsterdam are using 5 million disposable plastic coats every year, producing a lot of waste and CO2 impact. The medical sector wants to shift towards reusable textile coats that can be washed. This is something that happens outside of Waternet, but washing 50,000 reusable and rewashable coats every year also has an impact on our wastewater system. So we are involved in this process. We're a member of this working group to make sure that this transition from disposable plastic coats to reusable textile coats will not have a major negative impact on our environment and on our wastewater treatment systems. Well, to summarize, Waternet as a public company, we have a unique role in the complete water cycle in the Amsterdam area. Our primary goal is to reduce our own environmental impact with the activities and with the services that we provide. At the same time, we're working in that water cycle to regain as many elements from our wastewater as possible, and we also want to facilitate others to do that. And I think I haven't talked about that yet, but becoming sustainable, becoming a circular utility is a process of transition. And there is not one clear road that leads us to 100% sustainability or 100% circularity. So we have to experiment, and we have to dare to execute pilots, and we also have to dare to make mistakes, because there will be mistakes, and that is sometimes difficult in our organization with the municipality of Amsterdam and the regional water authority that are steering us. There is we need bravery, and we need courage to say, like, okay, this could be a solution. Let's try. Let's go for this, and make the experiment. And to facilitate that transition, it is also very important to have different innovations ready that can be tried, that can be experimented with. So I think if I could advise you, and also when I advise other Dutch water utilities, is to work on that transition by having different technologies available, and also have different sources to push for transition. We were already talking about legislation and laws. This is one aspect of creating push, national government, European government, but it's also, I think, an intrinsic motivation to become more sustainable, to have the ambition to create a better world, and that is also pushed for by the population, by the, let's say, the people of Amsterdam saying that, okay, I want to live in a clean city. I want to get my drinking water from an utility or an organization that is responsible for a clean environment. So it's a transition process, and it's difficult to now say where it will end, and it takes courage to get into this transition process. Then last slide. Waternet has also an international department, a World Waternet, in which we partner with other public water utilities. And we do that in the countries that are highlighted here. We have long-term partnerships in order to exchange knowledge, to work together on various problems that our partners face. And our 2,000 colleagues from Waternet are available to share their knowledge and their experiences. That was it so far. Roman, back to you.
Thank you so much, Koen. Thank you all. Indeed, it requires courage to try, especially in Ukraine right now. And there is a saying which is becoming popular lately: be brave like Ukraine. So I wish everyone is brave like Ukrainians right now, not only on the battlefield, but also in their circularity pilots and trials. Because as you said correctly, there will be mistakes, but we don't have other choice than to try and practice. And what I like from the Dutch colleagues, they often say we like learning by doing. So learning by doing is always the best learning, I guess, and the fastest learning. Thank you so much, Koen. We do have questions in the Q&A, and it is amazing to see that Merle has used the time of your speech to basically answer them in a text form. So for those who haven't seen the questions, they are already in the section answered. And
we can also discuss them live a bit.
We can discuss them live if we still have time after some other questions. but yeah, for the rest of you, I just advise that you read them, because there are some other questions coming, and they were coming also through the registration form. For instance, there is a question, I'm not familiar, but maybe you know. I heard about Willow waste cleaning facilities. Do you have any opinion on these systems, and could they be useful or look like a garbage to you?
Can you repeat that term, Roman? What kind of systems?
So
Willow?
it's Willow. Because, well, I haven't heard about it, but
Willow wastewater treatment systems. I have not heard about it. Merle, have you?
No, I don't.
Maybe it's not even with water, but anyway. So my function is to read the question. Your function is to say I don't know, and we move on, because, well, it happens. Okay, do you have any advices on household level? Are there any easy picks, easy wins, solutions to apply for individual household that can make a difference if applied by a large number of households? Maybe it might be a real benefit for one particular household from cost and preserving nature perspectives.
Yeah, I could say something about that. In the Netherlands, we're using 120 liters of drinking water per day per person. The majority of that volume is going to toilets, shower, and washing machine. There is, of course, a lot of potential to replace that volume by rainwater, or even say gray water, like reuse your own household water internally to flush your toilet and to do your washing machine. There has been many experiments with this in the Netherlands over the past 15 to 20 years, and so far it has always proven to be too difficult, to be too dangerous. There were experiments with different systems, blue water system, gray water system, black water system, and after a couple of months or years of using this system, people connect wrong pipes with wrong devices in the household, and people get sick. So far, we are still using drinking water to flush our toilets and to have our washing machine work. But in Belgium, for example, they are really also from law and legislation. They are now saying that no, every house should have a rainwater tank to, I don't know exactly, to flush toilets or at least to water your garden. So you see changes there. But in the Netherlands, it hasn't been institutionalized yet because of public health and the risks for public health. Merle, could you
agree there? So that's one of the drawbacks, but there are technologies that are used as well. I put some in the chat that I find very interesting. That's the Hydro Loop and things like the upfall showers. And especially in the showering, when you immediately reuse the water, then you also you use less gas for heating. That is very advantageous, especially in these times. So I think the main reason is also that water is not scarce enough yet. So the good quality water, if we look at the Dutch drinking water, it is €3 per cubic meter. And in every primary school where you say that, kids get angry because they think that's too cheap. That's also why the necessity is not that high. But if you really lack water, then you can think of these kind of things, like also use the grey water for watering your garden or your vegetables. The only thing is the contaminants really should stay out. So it's also some behavioral changes. The discussion, do you pee in the shower? Well, maybe then you shouldn't pee in the shower, and then you can reuse your water. Those kind of things, it is also if people are willing to behave differently. In the meantime, I looked to the willow treatment, if I may, because that is actually like reed bed treatment, so like wetlands, but then with willows instead of reed. Willows are also fast-growing plants, and I know from willows that they're very good in absorbing heavy metals, for example. So in that respect, I think it is, it could be a good thing. But then you have to really look at the quality of your willows and what you do next with it. I always find it difficult in wastewater treatment, and it's the same with bringing sludge, for example, back into agriculture. If you have a sink for your environmentally contaminating products, like heavy metals, pharmaceuticals, hormones, all those kind of things, and you concentrate it and then bring it back into the environment via agriculture, I find that dangerous. But of course, willows can be used for many things. So that is that would be my response. I do see a lot, if there's enough space, in these kind of ecological treatments, especially if you go for grey water.
True, indeed. Is it that plant that is being used at the Koifel shipyard in Amsterdam against heavy metals, and is absorbing heavy metals there? Because I know they use some kind of plant that absorbs heavy metals from that water, but I don't.
Usually they just use reed for it.
Yeah.
So the normal,
Reed.
But this willow looks interesting because it's growing so rapidly, and it is it's very good in growing in water. So
okay, thank you.
And maybe just Roman, to add to that, from the Waternet perspective, building with nature and having these kind of reed beds is very much in our ambition for the future. Space is an issue, but we if possible, we make space for that and use these kind of techniques to purify the water.
Yes, thank you. Well, we have some more. Which wastewater management technologies, including can be used in the city like Kyiv under the long-term electricity or water supply interruptions at household and city levels? Wow, that's difficult.
The main thing here is transport that is so difficult. So how to get the water from your household to the treatment plant.
I might interrupt you, but we did had some interruptions with electricity, obviously, and water, because of course the pumps are not functioning. So that's the major problem. And even now, when there is no electricity in Kyiv, we still have water. So somehow it is powered, I don't know how, but we do not have hot water. So it seems like some pumps that are pumping hot water, they don't have this backup powering, but I don't know if you can answer something different than just develop a backup power systems with batteries or generators.
I think I showed you very shortly the project in India, and in a lot of majority world cities it is similar because of a different reason, but also there you have to think about the more standalone treatment. Things that can be done but are technically still difficult is for example, use the biogas in a solid oxide fuel cell, and then you generate electricity to operate your treatment plant. And for full-scale wastewater treatment plants, if you just have sludge digestion, the electricity generation in combined heat and power systems, it's only 40% of what you would need on a treatment plant. But if you go to a bit more decentralized treatment and from the black water, you can have anaerobic digestion, you produce more biogas. And then with this high efficiency solid oxide fuel cells, then the energy efficiency instead of 40% is all of a sudden 80 to 90%. But here technology is really too slow for your pressing situation at the moment. So yeah, for a solution now, that's of course way more difficult than for the future.
No, true, indeed. It has to be designed in a circular and resource efficient way, I guess.
Yeah, but also these solid oxide fuel cells, they're still under development and super expensive at the moment. So yeah, that is the problem.
Merle, your in your presentation you were talking about the AGS, which is an anaerobic system.
Aerobic
right?
granular sludge. So it's an aerobic system.
Yeah.
It's the Nareda.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the system in India is anaerobic.
Anaerobic. So without oxygen. And then you produce the biogas and you don't need electricity to oxygenate. So that is the advantage there. And you also have very small scale digesters, but that's more in the global south, in the warmer regions. And that's also, of course, also in Kiev, in winter, a problem. I think in summer, it could be feasible just to have a tank and anaerobically store away your water and produce a bit of biogas. And clean out for the COD, but in winter the whole process will stop because it's too cold.
Okay. Oh, although we have +10 today and winters become warmer and warmer. Well, luckily this year.
This year, yeah.
Yeah. Another question comes from Martin in the Q&A. So they are developing smart household pumps that clearly separate and store gray water, mainly for reuse in flushing toilets and collecting detailed water consumption statistics. Would this be something you are interested in helping out with, the R&D innovation process?
Yeah, I think for these kind of systems, then you will end up in filtration, in nano filtration. If you really want to drink it, maybe even in RO. I'm not reverse osmosis. Koen, I'm not sure if you want to say something more about it, but that costs energy, of course, again. But these membranes are available, so they could be used. So I think that would be the quickest, fastest option to make potable water out of it. With certain risks, of course, of clogging the filters and those kind of things, and cleaning the filters. And but yeah, in a disaster situation, sometimes you have to, or often you have to cut corners, of course.
Oh, yeah. Oh, all right. Yeah, that's super clear. Koen, you said that's a question from myself. You said that the only business case right now for Waternet in reclaiming materials is biomethane for what you get paid from, from local authorities, I guess. But what about phosphorus? What about struvite? Because I remember 3 years ago, I've been to Waternet Amsterdam. Your colleague Lex presented us with a generous speech, and also I still have a package of struvite from that facility, which looks like just normal salt. Sometimes I'm afraid to. Exactly like this one. Yeah. So I was just wondering, like, well, maybe there is no business case just because you present it all to visitors, but maybe there is also other reason why you're not selling it to, I don't know, maybe even urban farmers.
No, it's no. So from the beginning, there was not a clear business case, and but we had to, as I was saying, the phosphorus was precipitating in the pipe system. So every year we use, I don't know, half €500,000 to clean our system from the phosphorus. So now that we are regaining struvite from the system, we reduce on operations and maintenance cost. We get a little bit of fee for the struvite that we sell, because we do sell it. Now, it took us 7 years to change legislation, because it's coming from the wastewater treatment plant. It was seen as contaminated waste, which we were not allowed to sell. So 7 years of lobbying to change national legislation, and I think also EU legislation, but I'm not sure. And at this moment, we are very, very much working with other regional water authorities, with other wastewater treatment plants, to increase the volume of struvite, so that we have a better position on the market. Because now the quantities are too small for industries to provide us a good price. So we are teaming up with other partners that gain struvite from wastewater treatment plants in order to bargain a better price at the market. So I think at this moment it breaks even. But when we started gaining struvite 10 years ago, it was much more to reduce our operations and maintenance costs, and to avoid the precipitation of phosphorus in our system, in our piping system.
Okay, clear. So if you basically take into account this opportunity cost of cleaning the pipes and you add it up, then there is business case in what you're doing right now. Yeah, more or less like that. Okay, that's important to know. Thank you so much. We are basically running out of time. There are some other questions coming. I will just do it very quickly. Have you done any research on microplastic pollution in wastewater recently? If yes, do you have any statistics about that? Thank you.
And there was an AI question, but I typed the answer there. I hope that was sufficient. Yes, we study microplastics and nanoplastics. The problem in wastewater is that it is very difficult to measure, because if you have a plastic, it functions as a kind of carrier, so it's immediately overgrown with biomass and bacteria. So therefore, it's difficult to detect. And what we see is that wastewater treatment plants, normal activated sludge plants, remove the microplastics somewhere between 80 and 97%. But how to stimulate that is very unknown. The difficulty is also that all these microplastics have different densities. So the floating ones you remove in your primary clarifier with scavenging the surface, and the settling you remove with your sludge, and then you have to see where that ends up. So do your sludge treatment good. The hoovering microplastics are very difficult. We tried with sand filtration, but actually sand filtration breaks the plastics to smaller pieces, and then it's still discharged, and then it shows like the sand filter is increasing the amount of plastics, but that is most probably just due to breakage of these plastic particles.
Yeah, not something that we want. Okay,
no.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, just to add to that, we are doing a pilot on one of our wastewater treatment plants with a fourth purification step, in which we measure also the microplastics. I recently was told by a colleague, so we're working on that as well.
You will have some numbers soon, I guess.
I could share them with you. I don't have them prepared now.
It's fine, but people who are interested, then they just may ask you.
Yeah, absolutely. They can always send me an email. I have a report, but it's in Dutch, but maybe Google Translate could help there.
Yeah, it is translating very well lately. Yeah. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining. Merle, Koen, thank you for your time, dedication, and amazing slides. I'm grateful to all the participants that stayed with us till the very end, and yeah, hopefully learned something. And well, I know they did. So thank you a lot, and let's stay strong and have a nice day. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Roman, and good luck in these tough times.
Thank you.
Thank
all.
you, and stay strong and safe.